The key thing here, it seems to me, is a kind of extraordinary and extreme pathological narcissism, which prevents Trump literally from understanding the experiences of anybody outside of himself. And he's an inability to see that he is just one part of a bigger system. And that in fact, as president, he has responsibility for the interests of other people too.
This is crazy. This guy is supposed to be smart. What the fuck is he talking about? Trump doesn't understand that he's part of a bigger system. He doesn't understand that his actions affect other people. What?
Well, that's TDS to a T.
That's crazy.
Okay. He has dehumanized Trump. That's the psychological process that's going on here. He is seeing Trump as an object and not as a person anymore. Mm-hmm. So because of that, he unpersons or depersons Trump. And then he sees any kind of relationship to that as psychotic, I think. And that's, I think that is a basis of Trump derangement syndrome, such as it is a thing. And it's not really a thing in and of itself. It's a collective bunch of psychological processes. But
Trump did prison reform because he wanted to get black votes. He's campaigned on prison reform because he wants to get black votes. Mm-hmm. He knows prison reform affects the black community. That's why he passed the fucking bill. Like, what dreamland is this guy living in that he doesn't think Trump understands electoral politics? Like,
I think he's conflating the idea of, because I think what he really is trying to say, or what he means deep down, is that because they're cascading Trump as like, the divider. He's saying Trump doesn't care about having the country stay together. Mm-hmm. But he's sort of conflating that with Trump only in it for himself, which maybe they're saying because obviously Trump's playing to his own side because that's in it for himself. But obviously Trump is very aware of psychologically how to gain support on his side. He's aware of the big picture in that regard.
I looked up
I've always found that argument so ridiculous. Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, you go ahead because I'm looking it up.
I've always found the idea that Trump is in this for himself to be probably the stupidest argument, or at least among them. There are probably dumber ones. Trump's a billionaire. He doesn't need to be president of the United States. I know that what I'm saying now is also a reductivist argument to a degree, but the idea that Trump is just doing this for fame or for power or for money, he has lost so much money definitively and provably. He was a rap idol before he became president. And he's really lost all of that as a part of becoming president. He lost his social, his financial, and social and general overarching prestige that he had by becoming president and running Republican. I think they say that like he abuses his power. I think that he's lost a lot of his power as a result of this.
I don't agree with that. I don't think. I mean, if you think, like, if when Trump dies, like 20, 30 years, however long he lives for, people are going to remember him now as the president. I think his name is going to be far more remembered than it would have been if he wasn't president. If he was just Trump is just that rich guy who had that crazy TV show. Really? The people that they're fired. I don't think people would have remembered him the way they will now.
Really? You think it's bad or good?
He's been in
no.
so
I'm
many
saying
movies.
In terms of
he had his own.
I'm saying in terms of Trump wanting to be president. I understand. Yes, he was a billionaire. He's very rich. The question is, why would he want to be president? I think a lot of people, especially when you get to that level of money, they're more concerned with their name, their prestige, things beyond that. So to me, it does make sense that Trump would want to be president for his own reasons.
I could see that as a possibility, but I would say Trump was an icon in the black community, by the way. No. Uh-oh. Oh, you don't know? Oh my goodness! Let me pull up some rap songs for you.
No, I know people reference him a lot, and I definitely know that.
No,
yes.
I'm not referencing it as like trying to be facetious or whatever. Trump was legitimately an icon in the black community. Mm-hmm. I don't the fact that now people are upset that the black vote may be switching towards Trump, and they're saying, oh geez, have you guys seen some of that stuff of if you vote for Trump, you're a traitor to the Black community? I mean, they did that in
Yeah, right.
2016,
Oh,
but they're
yes,
doubling down on
yes.
it now, which is horrible plantation tier stuff that I really can't denounce anymore. I
Yes.
couldn't denounce more vehemently. Trump didn't need to run for president. I feel like he did it because he wanted to. He felt that America needed a businessman to step in. He didn't need the money. He didn't need the fame. He was already one of the most famous people in the world. He didn't need any of it. I truly believe that Trump did this out of maybe, and you're right, it's possible. It's very possible that it was out of a desire for more power and more fame. But he was already one of the most famous people on earth. So how much more famous can you get? Maybe you're right. Maybe he is that much of a narcissist.
I
but I'm
completely
not sure.
disagree. I think he did it. Like, it completely raises his status to run for president. To be two-term president is an enormous status over being a celebrity. It's a huge status. You're a part of history. It's just
the ultimate status.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he didn't have that status boost in mind. But I looked up the thing that I was going to say is just everything that they're saying, they're seeing through this certain lens. And I went and I looked up the Charlottesville first statement that Trump made after Heather Heine was run over. Like, it was a huge deal, and Trump came out and made a statement about it. And the very last thing he says in the statement is, "We must love each other, respect each other, and cherish our history and our future together." So important. We have to respect each other. Ideally, we have to love each other. And just to think, this guy doesn't care about America. This guy's the divider. He wants to divide America. He wants to tear America apart. Why would you say something like that?
I don't think he does.
Yeah, why would you say something like that
does.
if you really want to tear America apart? It just doesn't. The facts are so against that narrative that it boggles the mind when they make this claim. And they make this claim, they're the ones that want to tear America apart. They're the ones that are like wanting people to have a race war in the street. They're the ones that are calling everyone white supremacists. They're the ones that are saying, if you vote for Trump, you're the equivalent of a neo-Nazi. Like, how are they able to make this claim that Trump is the one tearing apart America?
Who made the claim? I missed whoever you were talking about.
Andrew Sullivan there. Andrew
Sullivan,
yeah,
right.
is making the claim that
Andrew
he's
Sullivan's
just
not the one making the racialized stuff, though. He's not saying any of that stuff.
But they both everyone makes this argument. And it bugged the shit out of me when the conservatives made the argument about Obama, because it was the same exact argument. They were saying Obama's dividing the country, Obama's tearing the country apart, and I was like, what's he what's he doing to tear the country apart? Obama would say completely innocuous things, and they would say, oh, it's so divisive, when they're the ones dividing the country. Yeah. Like, Trump comes out and he says, ideally we have to love each other. No, divider, tearing the country apart. It's all just TDS. They look at him and they completely see some monster, and he could come out and tell them the most, he could read poetry to them, and they would still see it as this terrible lies that he's telling everybody. It's infuriating. It's totally infuriating. Nobody wants to give anyone the benefit of the doubt.
It's the primacy of fact, in that the first, again, as I said earlier,
totally.
It's the first information that we're given will affect how we perceive everything else someone else does. And it's so hard, because once we've formed our primary opinions, it is so difficult to reform our opinions. It creates cognitive dissonance. It's psychologically uncomfortable to change the first thing that we thought. And why do you think the media is so overtly negative to Donald Trump? Because they want to make sure that the information that is in your head is overtly negative, so that if then you go, oh, I didn't hate the thing that he did here, you will have to fight internally with your own cognitions to accept that maybe Trump isn't the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the method of social manipulation, such as it is. And I don't think it's like I'm not going, no, full elections, it's, but it's mild social manipulation. It's journalistic manipulation, which has existed forever.
Well, that's what's scary.
Journalism has existed.
That's what's scary. Like, the media has all this power now. Like, I literally don't know which way this election is going to go. I guessed I bet money Trump would win in 2016 just based on moral foundations theory and just the candidates, how they presented themselves. This election, there is this X factor out there that the media has been calling this guy a white supremacist for 4 years when he comes out and tells everyone we need to love each other. It just, it boggles the mind that they can do this. And then, Sam Harris and Andrew Sullivan can go on a podcast and talk about how those guys who've been lying about this guy for 4 years should win the election because he's the biggest liar in human history. It's bizarre to me.
Paradox Engine for $1 says Aiden is right. Trump's won't accept elections concept is idea laundering. First, you make up the idea that Trump won't accept the results. Then you have the press ask Trump over and over if he accepts the results. Finally, any answer is interpreted as refusal. So Paradox agrees with you, Aiden.
Well, I mean, whatever. But like, thank you, Paradox. But I think that is kind of the way. But that's the way that psychological manipulation works, right? Is that we say that if this thing happens, and okay, so there's something called agenda setting theory, right? It is one of the strongest, if the not strongest, social theory that has ever existed. Do you guys know about agenda setting?
Yeah, totally.
No.
Agenda. Okay. But the basic idea is that it has a 0.91 correlation between what the media reports on and what kind of topics people think about. It doesn't affect how people feel about those topics, but a 0.91 correlation
they set the agenda,
is real close to a 1-to-1.
They're the reason we're talking about white supremacy and all this fucking nonsense.
Yes.
Right. So I get all these arguments with people about, that the police are killing some huge proportion of unarmed black men.
Yes.
I'm like, no, that's just what's being reported. You don't understand. That's not what's reality.
Right. It doesn't matter what reality is. And people, in fact, often disagree with what the media says is reality, but it sets the agenda of what is being spoken about. And therefore, it affects what topics are of import to a political debate or to a presidential election.
Yes.
So basically, the media allows what do we consider to be important topics for the presidential debate. Is it going to be Black Lives Matter? Is it going to be things like the economy, which they have really avoided bringing up if we didn't notice in the presidential debates.
Let's talk about healthcare.
I don't want to bring that stuff up. And I think healthcare is a good, I don't disagree with the ability to have a personal choice in terms of healthcare stuff.
Well, I'm just saying, that would be a much better use of our time. Yeah. But they want to win electorally.
Than debating, than debating about this nonsense. Which or at least I perceive it as nonsense and partisanship.
Well, nonsense sells, unfortunately, because we're all terrible, flawed human animals.
But that's agenda setting, right? It's saying we'll send the agenda off of this stuff that doesn't really matter. That's all silliness and nonsensical and
I don't
irrelevant.
think the agenda is being set for an ideological reason primarily. I think it's being set for a monetary reason. They know what's going to drive traffic to these websites to watch the news.
Oh yeah.
So it's basically arbitrary.
I agree 100% on that.
Well, it's not arbitrary, but it's just
it's not focused on
to generate outrage and fear and anger and all that stuff.
I mean arbitrary in the fact in building a better society. Like we don't know. Like
well, I wouldn't even say arbitrary. I'd say it's very probably counterproductive to building a better society.
Yeah, I probably is. It would be nice if it was good for building a better society. If the monetary gain and the better society were aligned, the world would be a much better place.